Thank you so much for joining us today for the Pastor's Potluck podcast. Here on the Pastor's Potluck, it's similar to a normal potluck where you might get something that you want and there may be something that you just want to pass up altogether. And that's okay. There's something here for everybody. Our goal here is to encourage you and maybe in the process entertain you. If you're ready, let's dig in. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining us for another episode here on the Pastor's Potluck podcast. We are in episode number 6, and we have Anna Blake with us here today.
Yep, episode 6.
I know.
Crazy.
It's weird that we've been doing this for like a month and a half.
No, that actually does sound crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I feel like I was just sitting in this chair and we were doing episode 2, like last week.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, oh, goodness, you're like, where's the time? Like, what did I do the last 4 weeks?
I don't like admitting that, but yeah, I asked that question more than I'd like. What have I done? Yeah.
So episode 6, how's life going?
It's going great. Since our last episode that I've been on, I finished volleyball season. I was a middle school volleyball coach. And so that season has ended. So I have, my afternoons available again, which is exciting, but, we're just cracking, at some work at home, and, we are selling a house. And so our house closing is next week.
That's
which
awesome.
Is so good. Like, thank the Lord. So we actually have a little bit of, I don't know, we're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. Like,
yeah,
we're going to come out of the crazy season for at least a moment.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it probably couldn't have come at a better time with like the holidays and everything else coming up, and just, being able to take the time and visit friends and visit family and just do all those things that are just like really meaningful around the holidays. So I'm excited that y'all have some light at the end of the tunnel. Now, you and Paul actually just got back from the marriage conference that the church was kind of like trying to get a group of people together, and that was in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Yep. Tell us a little bit about that. Like I don't know, like what was your thought process maybe going into it, and maybe like some takeaways. Let's dig a little bit and maybe encourage some people to attend this next event that they put on.
So we really didn't think that we should go to this event because our marriage is perfect. So all of you out there whose marriage is perfect, then you were in the same boat as us.
Yeah.
So Paul and I, we're really good friends. Like, we're buddies. Like, we've known each other for most of our lives, and we do get along really well for the most part. And so we kind of had really low expectations. Yeah. We're like, oh, what are they going to tell us that we don't already know, because we're so wise. Yeah. But we have been married for almost 10 years now, and in marriage world, in our community, in our society, that's like a long time.
Yeah, it is.
So we went into it a little bit under scale of what we ended up receiving, which is good. I always like receiving more than expected than the other. The other way is not as rewarding. So when we got there, they do special amenities for pastor families. So that was cool. Like, right off the bat, Paul was like, they have a room for cake for us. He's
what?
Like, yeah, they had like cake, and they had cookie trays, like cookie tables. So one thing that some of our listeners may be aware of, or some of our viewers may be aware of, but in like the Pittsburgh region, which is, I'm from the like outskirts of the Pittsburgh region originally, from Wheeling, West Virginia. One of the things that's regional that happens there is in dessert settings, like a wedding reception or a baby shower, like whatever it is, they do these things called cookie tables. And so there was a cookie table, and we could not have been more excited.
Is it just like assorted cookies?
Yes, it's assorted cookies. Like, we're like, kind of what we see around here is just like a single type of cookie. Like, maybe it's just sugar cookies and a cake, or maybe it's like chocolate chip cookies and a cake, like whatever. But there, it's all about the assortment. It's all about the variety. And so I was giddy from the start.
Yeah. So like the more variety, that gauges like how good this cookie table is. Oh,
yes. And they had about a dozen different options. So it was pretty great. And that's one of the things looking forward to the holidays. Like, my mom makes cookie table, makes cookie table. What am I talking like Kevin Malone? Mom makes cookie table. Anyway, jeez. My mom makes a cookie table for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and that's like one of our favorite things to look forward to. It's like, pick through the stuff you like, leave the crap for everybody else. My dad will vacuum it up later. Like, he's like the garbage disposal human.
That was like the one Office reference I got.
Oh, yay.
I don't watch the show, but yeah.
That's all right.
I got it.
Yay. Well, so just the marriage event itself, like, we really kind of were like checking the boxes on all the different sessions. Like, oh man, we're doing that. Like, we're being each other's friend. Like, that was one of the sessions. We're like, living the dream. Like, yes, we dream together and we set goals together. Like, we have all these things were like just hitting the mark for us. And then we got to one session that was about fighting. And I was like, we don't really fight that often, so we should be fine with that.
Yeah.
And they had us do this activity where we had to write down a conflict that we had recently that we had resolved. And I really couldn't think of one, which might sound really good. It's like, oh, nice. Like, you haven't had a conflict that has needed resolution. And it wasn't that. It was just that our conflicts were so easy to forgive with each other that a lot of times we would go through a conflict and just not resolve it. We would just say, okay, I forgive you. Like, let's move on. Mm-hmm. And that's just what we would do. Mm-hmm. And so in that moment, it was like this I felt like a heat rush over me, like almost just like, oh my gosh, like, we've been missing this. Like, and so we had to have like a really serious heart to heart. Like, what are we going to do about this? Because if we really are a team, a good team doesn't let bad behavior continue. I know that's one of the things that we even talk about here as a staff. Like, we try to help hold each other accountable. I mean, we love each other. We have grace with each other. And we do that with our volunteers and everything. But at the same time, we can't allow bad behavior to keep going.
Correct.
And so it would be little things. And then there are some things you just compromise on. Like, there are some things it's like, okay, you left your socks in the living room for the 100 millionth time. Like, it's not a make or break situation. Yeah. But then there are other things that are, and you have to just be realistic about that. And that was a big deal for us to have that. And we actually got to put it into practice the next day when we got lost in traffic. And I thought, oh man, something bad might happen here, because I was feeling pretty angry. But we ended up talking through some of the things we learned that day, and it was cool. It ended up being really great.
Yeah. I have found now, I haven't been to a church marriage conference or anything like that, but I'm very, very really intrigued about going on the next one. Like, I want to make this happen. But one of the things that I learned early on in my marriage is that Erica's always going to be frustrated with me because like you said, I tend to leave my shoes like right at the base of my recliner. And if I don't pick them up, or if like the kids, like, they have chores of, cleaning the living room, or if she doesn't get around to it, I'll have 10 pairs of shoes right in front of my chair. And I think that's just a part of me that, like, I don't know, it's just I like to sit down and like to kick off my shoes. But there was one thing that I needed to address, and that was in conversations that I would have with her. And it was just one of those, like, I understand your heart, Jared, but like, you have to try to put this in a different way that it doesn't like cut deeper than it should.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like a bad way to put it, but it was, I would say something to her. Your watch, Siri strikes again.
She's always so into my business, Siri.
Yeah, it's all good. It's because you have it on backwards.
Well, I know, but I do it. I won't get into the topic of my Siri watch today.
Yeah, you wear it backwards.
Yeah. Hey, listeners and viewers, let us know which direction you wear your watch.
Yeah.
No, I think that what you're saying is on point, because I think like sometimes what we say is just as important as how we say it.
Correct.
And sometimes we think that like, oh, the way I say it is what matters. Like, what's my body language and my attitude? But it's also what words am I choosing? Like, all
Correct.
of that matters. And it's really difficult in a moment of high emotion to get all of those puzzle pieces together correctly.
Yeah.
Which is why it's important sometimes to like, and this was another big takeaway, and this is something that like I just tried to do even before this, is to just like put a realistic timeline of like, I am at too much of an emotional high right now, or you are at too much of an emotional high right now for us to have a real conversation. I'm going to walk away. Let's talk about this after dinner, or let's talk about this after you get your shower this evening, or like whatever it is, because sometimes like those things, they have to happen. But in a moment where my words and the way I say my words don't make the other person feel very good, that's not the right time either. Like, no.
Well, because like, you know, in the heat of the moment, like adrenaline, it's like, it's similar to what like high octane gas does for a car engine. It makes it more efficient.
Yeah.
And so like adrenaline and having all of these emotions going through, it just makes your brain like more efficient. And so what happens is because your brain normally is only being used maybe about 20% of the time, then you have all these different thoughts and emotions and reactions, and I should go do this, but I shouldn't do this, and I shouldn't do that. And taking that time to step away, and you go, okay, like I've got to let this adrenaline kind of like settle down to where I can approach this in a normal mindset.
Yeah, not like a crazy person. Like, I don't want to approach a situation like the Tasmanian devil, because that happens. Like, you go,
just this cloud of dust follows.
Just like terrorize the whole room. Like, it's like, what happened in here? Oh, well, Anna, she had an emotional high. Like, it's like, no, like I should probably step away, allow myself to like take a deep breath, say a prayer. And that was one of the other really cool takeaways was this like the 3P takeaway is what we learned. It was a marriage conference, but it's not like that. So here's what the P's were. It was pause, pray, and then proceed. And I really loved that and felt like it was something that I do sometimes, but not enough. And so it was like, okay, in this moment when I feel like we could throw hands, like, let me pause. Let me pray. Even if the prayer is, Lord, don't let me go to prison today. Like, whatever it is. And then it's like, okay, once I've done those things, can I now proceed? Yeah. Like, is that something I can do now? And I'm like, man, that's something I can use with my family, with my husband, with the teenagers I work with their parents, like literally anything. Like, okay, before I send a kid to meet Jesus on this youth trip, like, let me pause and pray, because I obviously love these people in my life and they deserve the best part of what I have to give them. They don't deserve the part of me that is tired and grumpy and hungry. Like, they deserve the spirit-filled moment of like, okay, I've paused, I've prayed, and now I'm going to proceed with these things that need to be said, or this action that needs to be done, like whatever it is. But it was a great weekend. I encourage couples to work on your relationship, work on your marriages, because, I mean, our marriage, just like those of us who are Christians, like our marriage and our Christ life shows the world around us what God looks like. Like, it shows people what God looks like. Even people who aren't married or people who have poor marriages, whatever that is, like, there's something about seeing a God-centered marriage and seeing like what God can do in that. And it gives you a really cool depiction of who God is. And like the love and the commitment that he has to us.
That's good.
There's a lot of power in that. And I think that we can underestimate that.
So 10 out of 10 would recommend.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I would say yes, 10 out of 10. I'm trying to think of like a negative, and the only negative is getting up super early for breakfast.
Yeah.
But that's not even a negative. Cause,
how early did you have to wake up for breakfast, though?
Like 6:30, so kind of early. But they don't keep you out late. Like if you're up late, that's your own issue.
Yeah.
I mean, anyway. I mean, it is a marriage conference.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Anyway, moving on.
Moving right along. No, so awesome. Yeah, and one of the things that like most people need to recognize is that if you do make the decision to go on like one of these marriage conferences, it's great to register as a church because you get like the $100 off or whatever. But don't go into this with the mentality of, oh, I get to see my friends from church.
Right.
Like I'm going to this to work on my marriage and to hang out with my spouse and maybe open up a new avenue of how we can communicate and how we deal with each other and how we love each other and don't do it just because it's buddy time.
Yeah,
because it's real easy to kind of get caught up in like, okay, let's go on like, hey, what are y'all doing tonight? Y'all want to go on a double date or whatever? And that's not what you're there for. Mm-hmm. So go in there with the mindset of, I'm going there for you. You went there because you love Paul enough and he loves you enough to be able to take the time and say, hey, let's do this. Let's figure out what we can work on. Let's figure out how we could celebrate the great things and how can we lift up the other things to the celebrated items on the marriage list, so to speak. So
yeah, and definitely perks if you're a pastor family. You can apply for a free registration, and if you receive that free registration as a pastor family, they do a gift bag. They do, like I said, the special
cookie table.
Like, hey, cookie table. Like, I don't know if cookie table's everywhere because they host at different cities, but in the Pittsburgh city, that's what they do, the cookie table.
Yeah.
And they did some other like really great options. I'm going to say, as someone who is in ministry, we don't often go to events and get ministered to. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Like a lot of times we go to events and it's like, oh, this is just like a session. This is the same old, or maybe I'm even in charge of something like as a minister, as a ministry family. But I truly felt like Paul and I were ministered to. Yeah. Like they really were intentional about, hey, as a pastoral family, here's what we want to treat you to. That was really cool. Yeah. Like that was really, really cool. And so just a shout out, thanks to Family Life Ministries and what they do, because it is making a difference, and that's awesome. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that y'all had a wonderful time. So one of the things I want to talk to you about a little bit is it can kind of goes hand in hand with like your personal life, with like marriage and everything else. But I wanted to talk about social media.
Okay.
Obviously, I think every single person that is listening to this podcast or will listen to it in the future has caught themselves like just glued to their phone.
Oh, yeah.
And like you are lost in the scroll. For me, I knew like I had a problem with social media because like one day I was just sitting in my chair. I caught myself, I was just completely blank in thought. And I was just going through the motions, just flicking my phone up, scrolling up, scrolling. I'm going, I even went back and tried to look at like everything. And I'm like, I don't remember any of these pictures, any of these posts or whatever. So social media, what is your favorite social media platform, first and foremost?
Well, that's what I'm looking here to see what I probably use the most.
Your screen time. I have that written on here.
So I kind of fluctuate. Like there's been times where in different seasons I spend a lot of time on like Twitter. Like I went through a Twitter season. I went through like an Instagram season, a Snapchat season. If you guys can travel back in time with me, a Vine season.
Ooh, yes.
Like just rolling through Vines like every minute of every day. And so right now it's looking like Facebook is my number one used social media app at 26 minutes a day. That's pretty good compared to like the national average.
What is the national average?
It's a lot. It's a lot of minutes.
It's at least like an hour and a half, I would imagine.
Yeah. But I've made some personal, intentional choices to get away from social media. I have a rule at home, and I'm pretty good at it. I'm not great, but I'm pretty consistent. Whenever it's bedtime, the phone is not on in the bedroom. Like if I want to like look at social media, or if I want to like watch a video, whatever, like I will literally walk to the living room and watch it on my phone in an effort to try to stick to my rule, because sleep is so important.
Correct.
And to like be sitting there in a dark room with this blue light in my eyeballs, like, and then I wonder why I wake up exhausted. Like, well, because you got like 1 minute of real sleep. Like, and then my next used app is Snapchat. I do love Snapchat. I love the different stories, and they like you can subscribe to different follow different influencers, creators. Like I follow one, like it's literally being recommended for me right now on my phone, and it's today years old, and it's showing like life hacks. Like I love watching that stuff.
I was
like
today
I'm like
years old.
Yes, I'm today years old when I learned that the milk jug can do this. Like oh my gosh, it's amazing. I get so excited about that stuff. So now that
Rabbit trail really quick.
Yes.
The best one I saw was whenever you get to the end of a box of cereal, you take a colander and you put it in the sink and you pour your cereal in the colander to shake out the crumbs. And then you pour that way your last bowl of cereal isn't like the movie Dune is going off in your cereal.
When you go to like pour the milk, it like dust clouds up.
Yeah. Just, those little bubbles of like crumbs, you know.
That's excellent. Oh, I love it. And then podcast is actually pretty high on my, screen time stuff. But as far as social media right now, it looks like Facebook, Snapchat, and then Instagram's on there too. I use a lot of Instagram for the youth ministry. My personal Instagram, I don't think I've posted since like a month ago. I don't keep up with it very much. I would jump on there to see if anything's on the first couple flicks through. And if there's nothing, that's I'll like a couple things and then just kind of move on. So I'm definitely like, when my mom calls me, she'll be like, did you see on Facebook? Blah, blah. And I'm like, no. She's like, oh, well, it's on Facebook. And I'm like, I don't know, Mom. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not spending a lot of time on there. And one of the comments I make to different people through the years, especially who get bothered by social media bullies or social media Karens, people who just really are there to cause a bad time for folks. I'm like, do they have your personal cell number? No. Well, if they don't have your number, then they don't know you enough to bother you. Like and that's kind of just how I live my social media life too. Like if someone on social media has something to say that is upsetting or harmful, like if they can't call me or text me directly and tell me those things, then I cannot let what they have to say bother me. Like at least not on a personal level. Like on a social level, like maybe a little bit, but not personally. Because they don't know me. They don't know my life, and they don't know what's truly going on in it. And so I should not be allowing them to affect it in that way.
I always hear like a lot of celebrities and people say, just stay out of the comment section, just because there's so much negativity like everywhere. And one of the things I wanted to kind of like talk through maybe a little bit was how us as Christians can use and utilize social media as kind of like a way into like you mentioned earlier, like our God-centered marriages. Now, obviously we don't get it right all the time, but how can I show the world Jesus through my life? Can I celebrate the things that he is doing? Can I talk about the things that I'm enjoying maybe at church, I think it's just such a great tool just for that window of opportunity, because I've got maybe over 1,400 friends on Facebook or something like that, not as like a pat on the back or whatever, but a lot of those people don't know Jesus. and what can I do that I can share, or an image that I can post, or something? Can it just be a window into what God is doing in my life?
Yeah. So I'm not an expert.
Mm-hmm.
I can simply give you some of what I do and then some advice of others that I see. But so some of what I do is I don't post a lot of original content. I used to post more original content. But most of what I do is do intentional interactions.
Mm-hmm.
So like I kind of go through my feed, and maybe it's a friend from high school, or maybe it's someone here from the congregation, or maybe it's a family that I once knew as being a part of like a faith circle, and they've stepped out of that for whatever reason. There's many reasons people do that, and
life. It's not like they lost their salvation,
right?
Or
like
anything.
There's just lots of different things, and so I may intentionally look for those folks, and just kind of like I see them post something, make a comment like, "Oh my gosh, look at how much your kid has grown. I love when you post these things." Or actually, my brother-in-law, we were sending messages back and forth, and he tends to send me pictures of nature because he works outside. And
Nice.
I told him yesterday on the phone, I said, please keep sending me stuff like that. I love it. Like, it's so awesome to see. And so like I try to look for ways to just have those interactions with those, because they are going to post their content.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have to ask. They're going to post their stuff. But if I can find ways to interact with it and let them know like, hey, I see you. Like, even if it's just with a little like care reaction or the heart reaction, like that tags my name to reacting to something that they put out there. So whether they know it or not, like whether they consciously recognize it or not, there is a presence of someone they know in their life who's a Jesus follower, who sees them and who is recognizing what their thoughts are on social media, and showing them love and showing them compassion. And there are times where I've reached out, like I can think of a time or two where someone had made a post that really made my heart hurt, and not like a personal hurt, almost like a Jesus hurt. Like I was like, they're hurting. Like they're in pain. And so I was able to, reach out to them through a private message and say like, hey, I saw your post. Like, I want you to know, like, I'm praying for you. Is there something I can help do? Like, is there anything else that I can be a part of? And so like social media, if I look at it as a platform for me and my presence, I think I'm sometimes missing the beauty of being involved in other people's lives in a really unique way, as a person of faith. Like, there's a really cool opportunity for us to see a little behind the scenes of people's life, the way that Jesus kind of sees each of us. And we can input our tiniest bit of Christ into their life, if we allow it. But we have to kind of get it out of our own heads. Like, it's me time, or
my
it's
page,
like for me
my
to
photos.
To put out my information about my life and
my jokes.
And that is how I approach. If you go through my old Facebook, I approached it that way for years.
For sure.
And I'm not entirely sure when the shift happened. Probably when things got more and more controversial, because I thought, I'm not going to change anybody's mind on Facebook.
No.
And so that's probably when I started to pull back. And then God kind of revealed like, hey, there's still opportunity here. Don't leave here, because there's still opportunity. It's just going to look different. And so that's just kind of some of my personal experience with social media platforms.
No, that's good. Just taking the time, just like you said, just to interact with people and make them feel loved and feel appreciated, and hey, can I do anything for you in those times? Maybe but the comment section sometimes is probably not the best,
right?
But if you see that someone is struggling with something, or they're going through something, because people tend to be very open about what's going on in their lives. Hey, pray for my family member that I just found out that they got diagnosed with cancer. But if you have their phone number, you can, send them a phone call or a text message, and just reach out to them that way, and begin to utilize it as a tool just to interject Jesus into all these different situations. I looked up actually some crazy stats, and this was the middle of last year that these stats came out. So just to kind of give you like a hint of like what people are doing on social media, on Snapchat, every single second, 9,000 photos are shared.
I believe it, because 4 of them were shared in the last about 5 minutes right here in this room.
But here's the crazy one, the mind-boggling one for me. On Instagram, every single day, 100 million photos are shared.
Wow.
100 million.
That is a lot. Wow. And I think that the majority of those are from the teenagers I work with. No, teens are pretty good about it. They don't overshare. If anything, it's maybe like my mom on Instagram. Mom, I don't even know if you're on Instagram. You send me a text. Let me know, Mom. I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like, obviously with the beginning of the conversation and just almost being addicted to it, and it's just it's such an ingrained part of our life. But then how can we begin to shift and use this not as a crutch, but how can we begin to use this as a way to interject Jesus?
Well, we see a lot of, so I just started listening to a podcast called Viral Jesus. It's by Christianity Today, and they talk to different influencers who did kind of make their faith viral in one way or another. And not that I have really mixed emotions towards that, because Jesus, as we know in the scripture, he had no desire to be viral. Jesus, he was homeless. Like, he had no desire to be like the big name, but it happened still. You know, like, think about whenever he came into the city in his last week of his life here on earth as a human.
People threw a party.
It was a big deal. Like, word of mouth spread. It was a viral moment.
Yeah.
But he didn't ask for that. It just happened naturally. Mm-hmm. But then at the end of his life, his last day, there was no followers. And so there's a really mixed emotion when it comes to Jesus and social media and followers. For me personally, it's like, are more followers better, or can it get us to a place where we need to crucify self so that we can be okay? Are we okay with 0 followers too? Yeah. Like, are we at a place where we could be okay with both and still make Jesus, the primary source of what we're doing? Mm-hmm. And so like I follow some different TikTok influencers, and that has been huge since the pandemic. TikTok just blew up during like the 2020 year into 2021. And there's a plethora of influencers that are putting out Christian content, and there are people who are experiencing a salvation moment through a TikTok video. I know,
that's crazy.
Like, it's incredible. And so there is some of that. It's like, man, if there are people who can create content that gets the gospel out there, that lets people know that there is a God who made them and knows them and loves them, and he made a way for them to have a life with him now and forever, like, that is huge. Yeah. And the difference that can make in someone's life is eternally change. It changes their life for eternity. And so it's leveraging my own personal relationship with Christ, my knowledge with these platforms, and my influence on those who are following me in a way that points them to Christ. Yeah. And when we can do that, when we can find that kind of opportunity, I don't think that's a bad thing. Yeah. I think that can be a really incredible thing.
Yeah. I think that people just need to like take a step back and try to find new ways to approach like this. Like, like you said, like, it's crazy that people are getting, having that salvation moment through a TikTok, and just like you said, just peeling back my, dying to myself and letting Christ shine through. And what can I do? I mean, even if nobody has like a musical talent or they can't dance or anything like that, there's great, the Bible app gives you a free verse of the day. Right. Like, somebody can create a TikTok and just get up there and read hey, this is your verse of the day. Yes. And just be done. take your time, span it out across the minute or whatever, not unless the verse of the day is Jesus wept or something, but
well, then that gives you an acting opportunity though. So I mean, really, like, you just
but you know what I'm saying, like, there's ways that we can like there's so many different ideas. Somebody can just, if you're a musician, you can play music, like a Christian song and sing along with it, or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe you're into Christian movies. You could do like a Christian movie review. I don't know, just something.
Well, and I think that part of it too is like, you don't have to leave your personality behind.
Correct.
Like, you can still, because that's the beauty of the kingdom of God, is that we are all uniquely ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, God made us intentionally. We are unique in the way he made us. And that is, our diversity is what makes us one. I know that sounds so backwards, but our diversity is truly what unites us.
Yeah.
And because we are all different.
Yeah.
Like, and if we were all the same, then that would make us different from what is real.
Yeah.
And so to be able to bring yourself to the table, like, bring your talent or your lack of talent, like, bring your knowledge or your lack of knowledge, like, whatever it is, like, to be able to bring yourself honestly to the table and say, I'm going to create what it is that God wants me to do in this moment, to create and to be. And that's it. Whether I have 1 billion followers after this or one, like, or none, like, I'm just going to do it because it's something that I want to express my faith in the Lord. And so there's some cool opportunities out there for folks if they want to take a shot at it.
For sure. I mean, it's just taking that leap of faith and just finding something that, like you said, that you like, and put your personality all over it and share Jesus with people. It's great. It's good stuff. If you do end up starting, whoever's listening, if you do end up starting like a social media account, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever, like, let us know, like, once you start.
We'll give you a follow.
Yeah. So you don't start off with like 0 followers.
That's right.
At least you'll have 2.
Hey.
Maybe 3. But hey, so on our next segment, it's our new one, mystery meat. Okay.
Oh, mystery meat. We talked about this, how we're going to do this. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
I wish everybody, whoever's listening to this, I wish you could see Pastor Anna's face, but whatever. It's good. She's elated. It's like a 6-year-old on Christmas morning.
It was like I saw the cookie table all over again.
Yeah. That's good. So our mystery meat. So the point of this is, it's just like the potluck. You're walking down through the table and you're grabbing the things that you want, and then there's just this random plate on the table, and you don't know what it is. And sometimes you go for it, sometimes you don't. But the mystery meat topic is, or maybe the question this week is, when's the last time you had a food fight?
Oh, I love it. Okay. So let me think. What defines a food fight? Because sometimes I throw food.
I'm not talking about like I just got married and my spouse put like the little dab of icing on my nose.
No.
I'm not even talking about like they smashed the whole piece of cake in my face. I'm talking about like a legit food fight. Like, do you remember the movie Hook with Robin Williams?
Yes, the Peter Pan movie.
Where he becomes an adult and then they kidnap his kids and he has to go back to Neverland as an adult.
Yes.
There's a scene in there and like they're all having like pretend food, quote unquote, and they can't have real food until Peter Pan uses his imagination to have like real food. And then like he finally starts to realize that like, oh my goodness, maybe I am this Peter Pan, because he grew up, he became an adult, he was a lawyer, and he totally forgot the lifestyle. And so he came back, he's like, oh, maybe I am Peter Pan or whatever. And so like all this food appears on the table. Right. One of the kids smarts off to him. And so he just grabs like a spoonful of it or whatever. Or maybe I got this backwards. It's been a little while since I've seen it. He pretends to grab like a scoop of like this pudding or whatever. And like he was going to pretend to throw it at one of the kids that smarted off on him. But then by the time it hit the kid's face, and then they look down and like all this food appears. Real. And then it's like the most epic food fight ever. Yeah.
It's pretty epic. Okay, so as far as like I've thrown food at people, I'm not going to count that. I probably haven't had a real food fight since I was a kid. We did a food fight in the cafeteria when I was like in 6th grade, maybe 5th or 6th grade, and it was like the worst day to have a food fight. I'm fairly certain, if my memory serves me correctly, I went to Limestone Elementary School in Marshall County. It was a small, old school where, like, it was the gym cafetorium. You know what I'm talking about? Like, the gymnasium was the cafeteria and the auditorium. It was all the things.
The multi-purpose room.
Yes, yeah.
And in the corner, they had, like, mops.
Yeah, pretty much. The mops were right next to the dodgeballs. And so, and the orange cones. It all was right there in that corner. And I can remember someone initiating it, and it just got crazy. And it was like a mashed potato day.
Oh,
like,
goodness.
I feel like it was like really not, it wasn't like hoagie day or something.
Yeah, or ham and cheese
sandwich.
People
say hoagies,
I know
subs.
what it is.
Okay, it wasn't like that.
If you don't know what a hoagie is, my goodness.
Well, I've learned a lot. You've moved around too. Like, there are some things you say and people are like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like,
I feel like that one's pretty
thing.
Universal.
Good. I tried to choose a word that people knew, and I'm like, I probably could have just said a sub.
Sandwich day. That's boring.
Not sandwich day. But yeah, it was pretty disgusting. I remember a couple kids getting in trouble, but so many kids got involved that you can't get everybody in trouble.
Yeah.
But we all had to clean up. Mr. Larry was our custodian, super duper guy. And he was like, I'll clean it up, kids, but if you want to help, we're like, of course we'll help, Mr. Larry. We love you. Like, and so we helped clean that up. But
about
that's
how
probably,
many people?
I don't, maybe 30, 40.
Okay.
Like, not a lot.
Not a lot, but enough.
Oh yeah, it was a mess. It was a mess.
I was in a food fight in high school. I think that may have been my last one, but it was a similar day. It was like chicken fried steak day. But the problem was like these two kids like legit started fighting. This is what set it off. Okay. And anytime they had like a fight in school, especially in the gymnasium, I would always walk around like the people that were trying to circle these kids. And I'd be like, hey, next week I'm selling candy bars for Boy Scouts or something. Like, can I count on you like to race just so I can have a front row seat to the fight? I'm not instigating the fight.
Yeah.
But that's what I would do is I'd be like, just something smart.
Find some way to get up in there so you can see what's going on.
Just so I can see what's going on. And I'm like walking like the inside perimeter before these two kids go at it. But where this fight had started was like in between. I mean, I went to a school, like my graduating class was like 900 people, 800 people or something like that. Like insane amount of people in a high school. There's like 3,000 kids. And because by the time they got to high school, like 200 of them had already dropped out.
Right.
Sad situation. But anyways, so they started like fighting or whatever, pushing in between like the benches and the tables, like those fold up, fold up cafeteria tables. And they started fighting, and then just one kid there's always like that one kid that just wants to be left alone. He's like, hey, like I'm just eating my food. I just want to get through this and get to class. They end up like pushing, like accidentally like bumping into this kid like while he is eating.
Oh no.
And
the kid was the Hulk, wasn't he?
Oh, he was a fairly large kid.
Oh, I could
not
tell.
large and like obese, but just like you look at this kid and you're like, that kid is a mule. Oh my gosh, like just stout. Like, but he just wanted to be left to his own devices. Like he just didn't have a whole lot of friends, and for whatever reason, I mean, they bumped into him. And he grabbed these. It felt like he grabbed them both by the shirt collars.
Was it like watching the Green Mile?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm tired, boss. I just want to eat my food. Like, exactly. And he just grabbed them. And the next thing you know, it was just like he turned around and he had like mashed potatoes or food like on his face, and he's like, I just want to be left alone. And then like just there's always that one random kid that just like, John's got like potatoes on his face, and he has the smart idea to grab whatever food's next to him and start throwing it, and then it's just
chaos.
There's probably 400 or 500 kids. I mean, there was potatoes on the ceiling until we all graduated.
Yeah.
Until they tore down the building and built a new cafeteria.
They did that because of the potatoes, probably.
Or just because the building had been built in like the 1950s and it was like, we should update this. So
yeah.
But yeah, it was insane. I mean, 400 kids in this big, ginormous cafeteria.
Oh, man. That's tough.
Yeah.
That's a mess.
It's a huge mess.
Yeah. Well, as far as food fights, if other people have been in food fights, we'd love to hear about it.
Yeah.
Because that's an interesting experience. Because it's not like something that happens very often.
Yeah.
It's like if it's happened to you, you know, and you remember. Because it's not like a regular occurrence, I don't feel.
Yeah.
Because who likes to walk around with mashed potatoes in your hair or like whatever? Like no one. Yeah. No one's into that.
Yeah. But okay, well, here, let me ask you this. If you were to ever get in another food fight again, what would be your food of preference?
Oh man, you know what food would be so great? Like, okay, I just thought of this. I haven't been planning this, but I feel like it's a pretty great idea. Like, if it was regular lunch day, like, but it was like sloppy Joe day.
Yeah. And
you just take the top bun off. And you just hold that sloppy Joe, like that bottom bun is now like a launching pad.
Yeah.
And you just hurdled that thing. Like, just imagine getting hit in the side of the face with an open face sloppy Joe. Oh, man. If that got in your ear,
yeah.
I did get smacked in the face with a cupcake this summer at a youth event, which was fun. Like, it's all fun and games, right? Until icing gets lodged in your ear. And I really had like a little bit of a panic attack moment.
Yeah.
And I had to have someone help me like get like it was weird. Like and so I was like, maybe I have like a phobia with that. I don't know. Like I had never
in your ears?
Like anything, like just things in my, I don't know, like because I don't wear my earbuds after someone else. Like I won't share earbuds with people. And like that moment with the cupcake was like a moment of like a light bulb went off. I was like, maybe I have something weird going on where I don't just like ear sharing stuff or
just things that don't belong in my ear.
Like,
in my ear.
Like, oh, I don't know, but it freaked me out. It was an accident. It was an honest accident. The kiddo was trying to aim for my cheek.
Yeah.
And I turned and because I didn't know it was coming, like I wasn't prepared, and it just got all up in the business. And it freaked me out, man. But yeah, sloppy Joe would be fun to just kind of just hurtle towards somebody.
Yeah, you're absolutely. You've thought of this, obviously, because
I thought of it in the last 25 seconds, but I'm not.
Well, your hands are not going to get crazy dirty.
Right.
Maybe just like the outside of like your pointer finger or your pinky finger, just from holding it and just
open
the
face.
casualty.
Yeah.
Of like meat spilling off the side, but yeah. And I feel like you could get like a good enough grip on it. It's not
you
like
throw it like a discus, just like rotate 1, 2, spin, fling,
smack. Oh my gosh, I'm freaking out. I've got man-witch in my ears.
Oh, see, no, I don't like that idea. Okay.
So yeah, no. For me, I don't know that I would like food wise. I would want something that I could enjoy taking a bite out of before I threw it.
Oh, okay.
See, like, because, like, I mean, you can't just, like, get in a fight with, like, a whole bunch of Velveeta cheese. Ew. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Or, like, you can't run around chasing people with, like, ketchup and mustard and squirt bottles and then just, like, lop off, like, a big squeeze in your mouth before you go hit somebody else.
No, because if you do that, you are a certified psychopath, I think. Like, who just squirts ketchup or mustard straight in their mouth? Oh.
Yeah. No, it would have to. It had to be something that like I could take a bite out of. Obviously you can't do fruit or anything like that. And
you could do an apple. That'd leave a mark.
Yeah.
That's a weapon.
It is a weapon. I mean, I was about to say. I'll say it anyways. I don't care. Don't prisoners put those in socks and like beat people up in prison?
I don't remember what they did last time I was in prison. So.
I don't. Maybe it's just what I've seen on. Oh no, it's soap. Never mind. Oh my gosh, they put soap in a sock.
This is my new favorite day.
Oh my gosh. But anyways,
you can take a bite of the soap too, depending.
No. But like, I feel like pizza would just be too flimsy. Like,
yeah,
it'd be almost kind of like it would catch too much wind drag. Like, I'd want something that could like still maintain velocity, like coming out of my hand, but taste delicious at the same time with a bite taken out of it.
Okay. So anyway, thanks for listening.
Don't look at me like that.
Oh, I just became really judgy.
It's
Sorry.
all good. Well, honestly, that's all I do have for today.
Great job, everybody.
Yeah, great job. Well, hey, we appreciate you tuning in today. Like, I hope that y'all have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Episode 6, Pastor Anna Blake. Any leaving thoughts you want to leave with anybody?
Please don't unsubscribe.
And cue the ending music. Thank you so much for listening in with us today. We really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram. You can also watch the video version of this on YouTube as well. All you have to do is search up the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. From all of us here, we want to say thank you, and we'll see you next week.